Wow, our guest today, our Herbie Miller, director, curator at JAM. He's a musicologist, historian, and if I don't get my 10 books out of Herbie about Jamaican music, me and him going to fall out. Along with him is Professor Rosalie Hamilton, social analyst, academic, trade policy specialist. Together, we're going to unravel with them the intricate socio-cultural and political landscape. You see how this big? Interwoven with vibrant music within working class culture. I love it. You know what? No,
you know like a PhD.
Yeah. No, but you know why I love it? Because I think it lifts the conversation, Herbie, about our music and its relevance to our society and the world. A lot of times when we talk about music, we talk about how it sounds nice.
True.
Facts.
But we don't talk about this, no?
Truly.
How important is this kind of conversation?
It's important. Morning, first of all.
Morning, sir. Good to see you.
It's important because, as you just said, for me at any rate, music is beyond itself. In other words, we can't just deal with music as this jollification, feel good, jump and prance, sing and dance business. More importantly, is what is music saying? Whether it be lyrical or instrumental. In the consciousness of our most enlightened artists is this idea that we must use the arts to uplift humanity.
Yes.
And at the same time, you can have fun doing that. I mean, what music you know with the sort of bass lines that make you gyrate? And at the same time, the sort of melodies and lyrics that make you think philosophically, you think spiritually, politically, socially, than reggae music. And that's why it is important that we follow the trend set by our ancestors, that music is a liberating force.
Absolutely.
And a tool for advocacy, Prof. Look how much it has done.
Absolutely.
Even reggae. We're talking about Bob and what Bob's music has done for the world, and talking about national hero status because of what he has done. I mean, just the power of the music in advocating for working class people.
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
And, you know, we're very, very happy to be part of this opportunity to talk about advocacy, and advocacy for, you know, values that are universally accepted and recognized. We are in the throes of an important discussion in Jamaica, changing our constitution. And we don't see that whole discussion of constitution as a discussion about those values. Do we want a just society? Do we want a fair society, a society that's equitable? You know, those are the issues that we want every Jamaican to understand, that this is about the rules that will shape the society you want.
And so how do you tell them what the connection or the intersectionality is between that and the music? Because people think they're diverging issues, right? And you talk about trade policy and music and people are like, huh? Them not have nothing to do with each other. They're mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Where do the two meet?
Yeah, well, you know, that's why the dialogue is important, because it's not an obvious link.
Right.
In fact, part of my struggle in this conversation is to talk to lawyers who see the legal aspect of the Constitution and not the economic aspect. And as an economist, I have the view that perhaps the most important thing we have to do in changing the Constitution is to ensure that the rules and the policy mechanism is in place such that it can transform our economy to lift the standard of living of the Jamaican people.
Right.
You know, we hear about all the, these statistics about the indicators in the economy is doing well, but the average Jamaican don't feel it. And it doesn't feel it because we think about economy through the lens of these indicators that are supposed to signal the well-being of the economy. But for the people of Jamaica, it does not.
You know what I like about this thing, Rosalie? Herbie, a lot of times we do not include the working class in these types of conversations, but the working class will insert themselves into the conversation. It's just we don't listen. As you were talking, the first thing that came to me is common people like you and me will be builders for eternity. So in the history of our music, as a cultural text, we have been saying, these are the issues that we have. This is what we want to see happen for us. Is that what's missing in this discussion, an appreciation of how the working class is expressing themselves through music?
Of course, it's missing. In the minds of our most progressive those in the political arena. For instance, 1972, it was, when Michael Manley used or utilized the people like Third World, Whalers, Better Must Come Youth, Delroy, and a Round the Island campaign. And that's what propelled him to this big victory he had then. If you think of going back to the question you posed to Rosalie, how does music and the whole idea of economics work? Remember, Peter Tosh has a song named Pound Get a Blow. Bob Marley have a song named Not One of My Seeds Shall Sit on the Sidewalk and Beg Bread. That's about how we're going to set the economic ground for them. We're talking about what music can do in terms of upliftment. Whalers have a song called, what? Music's gonna teach them one lesson. And he go down all the historic figures that we've been taught about. And when he gets to Marco Polo, he said, what about the great Afrikaners? Peter says, you can't blame the youth, you teach them about this, that, and the other. Drake and Raleigh, Walter Raleigh and those guys. What about Marcus Garvey?
The
music is telling us something is missing.
Is a part of this about acceptance? Because, and I'm navigating this question even as I'm formulating it even as I ask it, right? We spoke last week about, or when Ziggy was here, talking about the movie, about the fact that his dad could not come inside this building. And you talk about the use of music in political campaigns, which still happens to this day.
Yes.
But for many from that sector, outside of that campaign,
that's it.
Their noses are thumbed down on the very culture that they're using to rally the masses.
Absolutely.
If you want to include them in the conversation, you have to accept that this is a very useful tool, not just to use in that moment, but just generally as part of the conversation. So does there have to be acceptance at that level for the man on the street to feel it?
Of course. It's that level that budgets are allocated to supporting culture.
Of course.
How many times have you had me here and the first thing your sidekick
museum
would ask me is,
museum.
Herbie, where the museum? That's the first thing Bertie would ask me, And it's 15 years that I've been being asked that question. Where in the budget of government is the allocation for real institutions to make our arts be exposed nationally and internationally? Where is a true national gallery? Where are the performance halls, the state of the arts performance hall? So if we want Jimmy Cliff to come home for a command performance,
where does he do
that's
it?
where we go. Put some bamboo around some beach and call it performing. We've got to go way beyond that at this time.
Absolutely. And what's the link between that and constitutional reform? What's the mechanism that we need to put in place to ensure that our voices are heard in these decisions about how our money is spent? We have to think differently about the budgetary arrangements. We have ideas about how to solve our problems. You know, this idea of public education around constitutional reform. There's been a loud outcry in the country.
About that all the time.
Yes, you know, like, where is it? Why is that a problem? And so the question we have to ask ourselves is, if all of us had a chance to influence how money is spent, how budget decisions are made, how policy is made, will we get better outcomes? And I think that's the single most important question Jamaicans must answer now. Do we continue a top-down approach to decision making in our country where only a few people are supposed to be bright, or they are in these jobs, special jobs and so on, and they think that those jobs make them bright and can make all the decisions for us? Or do we create a more inclusive arrangement? We're at the level of communities. We're talking about local government elections now. Are we seriously engaged in a conversation about how people in their communities can build the assets they have in those communities, find the resources using their own creativity, including members of the diaspora, to solve local problems, including crime?
All right, before we go, I have to allow Herbie to talk about Groundation.
What do I know about Groundation?
No, but you want people, because these are some of the things that are going to be discussed there, you know?
So good. It opened last Sunday, so we will leave that to history. Sunday the 11th February. Reasoning with Creatives is the title. Social and cultural expressions in changing times. These are indeed changing times. We're looking at very serious changes, as Professor Hamilton just talked about. We have a very provocative moderator by the name of Muta Baruka. And the panelists include Carrie-Ann Henry, outstanding dancer and choreographer and educator in the area of dance,
amazing.
Of course. Andrea Dempster Chung, the lady who put together
Kingston
the
Creative.
Kingston Creative, the murals and so on. Miguel Stepper Williams, you know Miguel, what can we say about him? He's so many things. There's so many arts, including being a poet. And two young ladies, Jamila Falak and Rika G. Between them both, young advocates in all kind of different areas, including environment, women's issues. One plays the cello and the tuba. And she is a good poet and a woman who talks very deep arguments. And the other plays the string bass and uses that as her way to communicate in ways that are uplifting.
Nice.
It's at the Institute of Jamaica, 2 p.m. each Sunday. Of course, there's always, it's free admission. There's always refreshments and snacks, if not food. And what else? And of course, the jam orchestra that uses the music to sort of punctuate what the argument is all about.
So we have a Jamaica Museum Orchestra.
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
jam, but no museum.
Well, it's easy to put together the orchestra, but we'll play wherever we get a chance.
What's going on with the museum?
To be honest, I don't think that the Ministry of Finance really values the Ministry of Culture.
Wow, Herbie.
That's what I'm saying.
And that is it.
Or else the Ministry of Culture would be financed to the level where
That
these
is
things that
required.
minister have in her head could be realized. It's too long now that we're with, long ago, Caribbean, Regal, and those places used to be where we have concerts and so on.
Yeah.
Since those have become smaller theaters within a bigger space, we could go all over the place, man. Every other country that is developed has the state of the arts, museums, etc. And I must say that for me, wherever I've traveled to a very economically developed and socially developed country, there are these institutions there. You can go
Paris
to
talks about it all the
great.
time.
Absolutely.
And it ties back to the economic discussion because this is
huge
what
money,
this is
income.
big.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you have to question, do we have a problem? This transcends administrations. We have a problem where a minister is committed to this, understands the importance, yet
Nothing
in the
happens.
cabinet, she can't somehow get that. That system is not working. If the prime minister wants it, it will happen. I think we all know that.
All right.
Big talk, you know?
But I tried to talk, so I know.
We're all tired to talk.
That's
Not
the point.
just us.
And our voices are not being heard
Yes.
on these important
it's really
matters that affect our lives.
Yeah,
Quite
culture,
frustrating.
Jamaican culture is
We're
a
talking,
big
Absolutely.
we're talking from the days of mento.
And if you think about this problem that everybody talks about, crime, how can culture solve that? How can getting Jamaican youths be involved in culture rather than criminality
All
not be a
right, so
solution?
I'm going to stop you because she's going to start because she talked about that too. So let's just go before Harris loses her lunch this morning. Thank you folks for being here with us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you
Director,
so much.
curator at Jam and musicologist Herbie Miller, the great Herbie Miller, and social analyst, academic and trade policy specialist, the wonderful Professor Rosalie Hamilton, both great in their own respects. Thank you for your input this morning, and we have more.